This video has been brought to you by Hooks, Rubs, and Spices.
We got new shows every Sunday.
And the Ramblings with Rob.
Here we go.
What up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob, and I'm back with another edition of the Random Rambles with Rob podcast. First and foremost, you making a funny face, man. Am I?
No.
You messed up my intro, and I ain't cutting it out. Fuck it. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you, the listener, for coming back each and every week or however you listen to podcasts. If you're a first-time listener, I'd like to thank you for giving my show a try. And if you're in the vicinity of whoever recommended you to me, reach on over and give that person a crisp high five. If you're not in the general vicinity, you can use your social media app of choice, to whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I think I said Facebook twice, but you can use your dummy account and your public account, because I know you got one of those, you sneaky bastards. And craft that person a well thought out DM, and don't make it lewd, because I know how y'all like to slide in the DMs and you do your thing. But tell that person thank you for recommending you to me. Speaking of social media, if you looking for me, I am on various social media platforms, to include Facebook. Just type in the Random Realms with Rob in your search and I'll pop up, or you can use facebook.com/3R show. If you want to find me on the Instagram, you can go ahead and use hashtag 3R show or hashtag Walmart log to find me walking around Walmart saying all manner of things. Also, you can go to Twitter at 3R show. And then finally, if you want to find out some more information about the show or how you can support, you can go to randomrobcast.com. Yeah, got all that out the way. I have a guest, as per usual, and this is a blast from the past. I know this man for many moons now, and I don't think we had like a regular conversation one-on-one like this for a long, long time. I was a guest on his show, and now we're bringing it back around years later to have him on mine. He's been through a whole bunch of life changes, as have we all. And he's doing a new thing, rebranded the podcast, and coming back stronger than ever. Joining me is one Crumb from Casual with Crumb. How are you, sir?
I am doing very well, and greetings to all the random heathens and harlots listening to us right now.
I like how you did that.
Feel free to steal that.
I mean, I already got like I used to have the thing to like everybody show has their fan base and what they call them and whatnot. Yeah. And for a while I was calling people motherfuckers, and hitting the ear, that sounds kind of rude, but to me it's a term of endearment. But
it is.
I had a Dags on the show from the Amish Baby Machine, and he suggested that I name the fans of the show Rob's Zombies.
Oh, I like that.
See,
because I don't.
Yeah, when he said it, I was just like, "Hey, ooh."
And believe it or not, I don't think it's taken. I'm a fan of the reference point very much, and I don't think he calls his fans that.
Word. So I mean, I might have to run it through have my people look it over. My people reach out to his people. Because I mean, we on a first name basis, me and Mr. Zombie, but I call him Zombie out of respect. So. But how are you, man? How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. As we record, it's about a week till my wife's birthday. In my house, we don't call it Christmas because she was actually born on December 25th. Word. So it's a week till my wife's birthday, and we're doing. If you're a fan of Letterkenny, I know that's blowing up huge in the States. It's Canadian content, as am I. We're doing a super soft birthday for her 35th, cool. which I'm looking forward to a hell of a lot.
Man, that's amazing. I know we're not supposed to dispel those things, and I'll blank it out. But how old is she turning?
Oh, no, don't worry. It's totally cool. This is the reason this is so special. It's her 35th.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Awesome. So on December 25th, we're celebrating the Lord and Savior crises.
That's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit before we got on air or whatever, man. But you was talking about you having a bit of a go, in life as far as the works and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean the vanilla job, as I call it, has been less than steady. Let's put it that way. But like you mentioned off air, like I've just been going hard at the show, just like you did when you took your break. It's the same thing, man. Like you got to keep yourself occupied.
Yeah.
I'm branching out now into doing YouTube. I'm branching out now into doing adult stuff. So
yeah, I think he was always doing adult stuff.
well, in terms of the podcast, yes, but I mean myself doing adult stuff. You can find me on the Orange and Black site, not just my episodes, but other stuff if people are looking for it. Actually, our buddy Toby, he went to go check out some of my episodes on Pornhub.
Yeah.
And he sends me a DM and goes, "I nearly saw your dick. I'm so sorry." And I'm like, well, it's out there. I mean, I don't care if you want to look at it, but
I mean, I'm not ashamed of it, so you shouldn't be either.
That's the truth, right? Like,
yeah,
I know all of our buddies. We all very much frequent those sites. Yeah. So
I was about to curb you there. I was like, I know all our bubbies have not seen all of our dicks. So
okay, that part is also accurate. Yes, that part is accurate. But I mean, we've all visited the site. I've had great private conversations with everybody about what they're into and what they're not, just because of the nature of my show.
Yeah. And shout out to Spunk Lube. I see back there in the corner.
Oh, Jeff just hooked me up right now on my YouTube channel. I've got an unboxing video. He sent me all these 3 ones are new. I got 3 new full bottles, and behind me on the chair here, I have 200 sample size units, like just the little packets and
the little dollops.
He hooked me. Yeah, the little dollops. Yeah, he hooked me up for Christmas, so I'll be doing giveaways and things like that going forward.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that or whatever. You got this break or whatever, the hiatus from the vanilla job or whatever, which vanilla is my favorite flavor of ice cream, because you can dress it up so many different ways. You can put caramel on there, some sprinkles, a couple of pecans. But I mean, you can also say, I can just go get some pecan ice cream. But I kind of feel this is a little bit cheaper, and then you can keep the excess after. So anyway. But with your hiatus and your break and everything, whatnot, you've been focusing more on the podcast or whatever, and it shows. From me looking from the outside in or whatever, it's just like content after content, and and just stepping up your game as far as guests and everything go. I mean, and it is way a different departure from what the Crises and Blute show was. So I mean, what ultimately ended that podcast and made you come up with this concept that you're currently with now?
Okay, that's twofold. What ended that old show was Crises not wanting to do it anymore. She just flat out said she didn't want to be behind the mic anymore, and I was like, okay, I'm sort of at the end, at my wit's end. It's like, you're a producer, you're a host, and you've got a co-host who, even though I love her, she's my wife, she's contributing exactly nothing other than a fresh voice.
Yeah.
So you're doing all that on your own. Shit, you might as well do it on your own. But I decided to take a break after that because we went 49 episodes, and I'm proud of all those episodes. But we ended up taking a break, and she ended up doing another thing. And what got me back into podcasting was actually our friends, the Somebodies.
Yeah.
They were poking me behind the scenes, like, just do one, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I've got all this equipment. I've got this love for audio engineering. Why the hell? Let's do something that's uniquely me. Yeah. So when Getting Casual first started, it was called My Crumbling Audio. It was a play off my old gamer tag, and it was, music, horror movies, and porn, 3 of my absolute favorite things in life. And then as I started researching more and more in the adult industry, I realized that that's where I wanted to focus my energy on.
Yeah.
So then it became Casual Sex with Crumb. And then my marketing coach, Amberly, who is a doll and I recommend to everybody, said, well, you should interview people. I loved being a guest on your show, and all of your interviews are so good. So I was like, well, Casual Sex with Crumb sends sort of the wrong message. Like, that's not really what I'm doing. So let's change it. And I looked, believe it or not, gettingcasual.com wasn't taken. And I'm like, it's mine now. And that's what the show is. And that's where we've been.
Word. So, I mean, what was the first iteration of it like? I mean, just, kind of workshopping and trying to figure out, all right, is it going to be this, and this,
The first iteration, like My Crumbling Audio, was simply me scripting. Each episode is about 12 to 15 minutes, give or take. So it's me scripting about 8 pages and taking something I loved that happened. Like, it was sort of a reactionary show.
Yeah.
So I took something I loved in the horror industry that was going on. I took something like an album. I would do a song of the week. And then I would do like some adult news, and people were resonating with the adult news a lot more than they were with pretty much anything else. And I get that, like, if you don't do your research, there aren't a lot of adult shows. Spoiler alert, there are a ton of adult shows, but I didn't do my research. So I'm like, oh man, you can trip over a metal podcast. You can trip over a horror podcast, but in terms of adult oriented content and focusing on that, I didn't find too many. I didn't look, but here we are, and I'm carving out a niche that way.
Yeah. And what I've noticed when I was listening earlier on to what you was doing or whatever, it was just kind of like you in front of the microphone, just like, yes, and then you insert here and put a dollop of spunk lube here, then you cuff balls here. It was very informational, instructional, and whatnot. And it was just like, I can appreciate that, because you don't want anybody, being an amateur to some of these things, just jam it here, push it here, twist here, and all kind of shit like that.
I don't really know where I got that idea, in all honesty, but it was like, if I don't have a guest, I should probably do information. And that was one of the best things I could have done for myself, because now I'm respected in the industry, as weird as that is to say. Like, important people in adult and important organizations in adult follow me and communicate with me and treat me as a resource. So if I didn't do that informational stuff beforehand, it's kind of like, well, is this guy pretender? Is this guy just trying to get famous? No, he's actually trying to help people and help the business as well. So I was like, unintentionally, it was a great thing for me to do. I just literally just wanted to do it.
Word, see? I mean, it's funny how things will just work out, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So, like, when you decided to go more toward the interview platform to, get more adult entertainers and everything like that, who was your first person that you reached out to, and who is the first person that came to your mind? Because, I mean, that could be two totally different things. Because, like, for me, let's just say I was doing an adult show, the first person to come to my mind would be Roxy Reynolds, but it's not necessarily the first person I would reach out to. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. So what I've carved out for is that I actually really like being a performer's first interview, or one of their first interviews.
Gotcha.
So how I got started in interviewing was this gal reached out to me, Colette London. She's Come With Colette on Twitter, and she's like, hey man, would you talk to me? And I'm like, well, yeah, I have this philosophy. You and I both have a pro wrestling sort of a background.
Yeah.
And I take this philosophy. If you want to work with me, I want to work with you because there's money to be made, right? That's an old school wrestling philosophy. Yeah. And I applied that. I'm like, well, I like her Twitter content. I don't know who she is personally. I don't know who she is professionally even. But, she wants to. So what the hell? Let's give it a try. So she was the first person who reached out to me, and she was the first guest. And then in terms of who would I have on, or who were my goals, I haven't even reached out to them, because I have a ton of people I want to chat with, but like my ultimate, I'm working up to asking my like fanboy crushes. Do you know what I mean? Because I just recently did an interview with someone who I actually have a crush on, and it shows. Like, you can hear my voice stuttering. You can hear. So before I get to like the superstars, like the Larkin Loves or the Lance Harts or anything like that, and not to say that any of my prior guests are less than or anything, but in terms of my personal crush, like Larkin Love, Lance Hart, Ariel X, these are people I'm not going to ask to interview for a long while until I can get my shit under control.
I completely understand that. It's just like, oh, this is just a workup and everything. And it also helps to when you have those first timers, like how you was mentioning, because I mean, if you don't know them per se or their work, it makes for great content, because you're getting to learn more about each other, and that kind of helps out the podcast, I believe.
I've had people behind the scenes say, thank you very much for interviewing me. I've gotten a lot of new eyes on me. And that's like, how cool is that, right? Like, I don't know how many I do know how many eyes or ears on me, because I'm obsessive about my podcast stats and my YouTube stats and wherever their stats are, right? I think any podcaster listening to this is probably in the same boat. So, but they don't have, like, a lot of the time your guests won't have an understanding of their reach.
Yeah.
Right? Like Twitter followers are such a horrible gauge, because one of my guests who had something like 30,000 Twitter followers was actually one of my lower downloaded episodes, because her followers were not active, not engaging, and didn't see that she was on my show. Yeah. My followers were all there, right? Like, but I have my regular audience, and then I have my guest specific audience, right? Like, so just to use as an example, Mrs. Sugar Muffin is not going to bring in as much of an audience as Penny Barber did. That's just
unicorn,
a fact.
Muffin.
She's a wonderful person and a great performer, but the thing is, she has 30,000 followers, but none of them are active, even on her own posts. So I felt really bad for her because she asked her stats, and I was like, not great. I mean, still decent numbers overall across all platforms, but not great.
But and that's kind of the thing too with that profession in social media is just like they're there for you, but they're not there for you. As in, like, you want to show your ass, your dick, your titties, and all that stuff. I'm there for that, but you talking about some other shit like, oh, my day was crappy, and not so many people are here for that, Well,
that just doesn't happen in adult life as well, right? Like for an adult performer, that happens to everybody. But what's worse is adult performers, and even those tangentially related, and I'm pointing at myself here, we get shadow banned, which means my post, unless you search for me at Casual Crumb, you will not see my posts in your feed, because I talk about sex, because I promote, safe sex work, and I promote safe sex, and I promote sex workers of all kinds. I am now lumped in as though I were a sex worker, and a lot of them just get shadow banned. So It's important for social media to evolve. That's why, like, adult workers have, if you're a escort, there's something called Switter, which is sex work Twitter. And that's geared toward finding clients and that stuff. If you are an adult performer, like your clips or cams or whatnot, I highly recommend AVN Stars. It's run by arguably the biggest magazine. I got to be careful with how I say that, but it's definitely not going away, and it's not going to censor you. So as long as you can point your fans to that direction, you'll have better luck with social media. But Twitter is a dying art form as it is right now anyway.
Yeah, and it is crazy that you talk about the shadow ban stuff, because, like, I've heard of that term, but I never really knew what it was, and thank you for explaining that to me, because, like, you are completely right, because there is, 3 people that I have actively searched for as of late, one being a former guest, you being as a current guest right now as we talk, and somebody that I would like to potentially have on as a guest, and right. Y'all deal in that same realm. So when I would type in the search bar for them, I couldn't find them unless I went to an old tweet with their actual tag in it, and the shit was baffling me, because I'm like, I know I'm putting it in the right way, because I go to our group chat and I look at how you spell it, and I was like, I know I'm not spelling it wrong, and I go do the same thing for her. I look at old tweets, I was like, why this shit not popping up? And then I was like, oh, so now I'm educated.
Yeah,
and as what Crumb does, he educates us.
That's what we do. But that's getting worse and worse, and now Twitter's changing their platform in January, and it's going to be a real difficult thing for anyone who's on, I'll say, the fringes. Forget adult. My wife was part of a witchcraft sort of a Twitter group, kind of like we have the Somebodies, the DM group chat. So she was with a bunch of pagan practitioners and witchcraft artists type thing. And because they have witchcraft, which is fringe, they're shadow banned too, and not one of them has shown their tits.
Word.
Yeah. So it's getting worse and worse in terms of censorship.
Now, I mean, I just get on the thing, I plug my show, and I have as much interaction as I can with people, because I mean, I truly enjoy that stuff, whatever. But what does the you said the change in January entail, from what you know?
From what I know, everybody's going to be subject to harsher terms and conditions. They've already started sending out emails that they're looking at it a different way. They have recently been reposting their decency portion of their terms of service, and a lot of people, specifically an adult, are violating those terms.
Mm-hmm.
So now they weren't bothering with it so much other than the shadow banning, but now they're going to start chopping people.
No.
And that's the scary thing, because they're not going to give you any warning. You can't archive your tweets. You can't archive your followers. That's why an alternative solution is needed.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of like what ultimately happened to Tumblr, right? When Yahoo bought them out.
Tumblr was a little bit of a different situation. Like, yeah, Yahoo wanted to ban porn, but what ultimately killed Tumblr as well was FOSTA SESTA down in the States. That's the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, and SESTA, I'm sorry, I don't remember what the acronym is, but it's sort of like lumped in together. And it's to stop sex trafficking. It's why Craigslist shut down. It's why Backpage shut down. Well, not shut down, but Craigslist shut down their personals. Sorry, that's more specific.
Yeah.
So everybody was sort of kowtowing to these new laws that are just so overbearing on the websites. Like, it's not up to the website to police, I don't think. Mm-hmm. I mean, as long as they have the terms of service, then it's up to you to be a decent human being. And of course, sometimes we can't allow that to happen, but these laws, coupled with the new thing of like this war on porn again, we've been having a war on porn every decade, it seems. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that is just like a lot of the catalyst for most of the stuff we do is rooted in porn. So like technology, as far as basis for television and cameras and everything, is so we can shoot and view better porn, or VR. I mean, people think it's for games, and it's for better porn, pretty much. So it's just crazy how we would try to, get away from the thing that we secretly love the most.
The last statistic I heard was that the porn industry specifically is a $4 billion industry. And this is from a few years ago, so don't quote me on that exact number, but that's the last stat I heard. We are as a society, we're silencing a $4 billion industry because we don't want to admit that we jerk off. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I had the same conversation with Nielsen Torres. He's the curator over there at What the Fuck Television, or WTF TV, and he does a lot of he has a lot of actors and actresses on the show or whatever, and they actually do display stuff. I mean, he's on public access television as well, and that was kind of the same thing that we were talking about as well. It's just like, this is your thing that you love and that you're passionate about, that you have a collective group of people that want to display your passions and your talents and whatnot, but it's the platforms are becoming smaller and smaller to kind of put that out there or whatever, because art is art regardless of the genre that it's in.
And if you're a person who considers themselves educated and enlightened, and I hate using those buzzwords, but really and truly, then if you can separate the art from the person, or if you can separate art from the problem, like, because not all art is good, that's a subjective term, and not all art is controversial, and in terms of adult work, not all art is sex trafficking, although that's the argument that everyone's making, like, all of these people are being sex trafficked. How?
Yeah.
Like, really, how?
What a term that's come more recently to my ears is what you were saying earlier, is sex workers or whatever. Now when I heard that for the first time recently, I was just like, what the I'd seen it in an acronym because it was SW, and I was like, what's a SW? And it was like, a sex worker, and I was like, isn't that illegal? Because it's like the way you hear it and where it's perceived, to me it was just like, that's some sex trafficking shit, or like, people that are sold into, sex slavery and whatnot, when I heard that. But then, as you're supposed to do, if you don't know something, you seek out the proper, enlightenment on said topic and whatnot. So you're not just sitting around here sounding like an ignorant ass and whatnot. So, I mean, that's the preferred term nowadays.
Right. And it doesn't just encompass adult performer. It encompasses, legal escorts, because there are places in Vegas and I believe Atlantic City that are actually, it's perfectly legal. In Canada, we have a different system. We follow something called the Nordic model, or the end-demand model, which is prostitution is legal, but paying a prostitute is not.
That's
but
weird.
it's much easier to get around. Like back a couple years ago, I had a brothel about 2 blocks away from my childhood home, and I was fine. I was safe. I actually didn't.
But I don't mean to, I'm sorry, but it was just like I had a brothel, and then my mind was just like, this motherfucker had a brothel?
Oh, I wish. But then that would be considered the sort of illegal stuff, because you can't, you can't run it, because that's still pimping, whether you're in the American system, which is no or yes, or in a Nordic model system like Canada. But there was a brothel about 2 blocks away from my childhood home, and I was perfectly safe. The only time I found out about it was I was at college, and my buddy's like, "Hey man, I'm going to the whorehouse. You want in?" What? Where's the whorehouse? Over there. Oh, well shit. No, I don't, because I don't want to see you naked. That's literally the only reason I didn't go. I didn't want to see his dick.
Yeah, and that's crazy to think or whatever, because like you were so isolated and protected from that you, what was the harm in it,
That's right. And really, what is the harm in any sort of legal work? One thing that came up that I really, really loved, I can't remember who said this, but if you think sex workers are risking their bodies and coal miners are not, then you have a horrible definition of what work is. Yeah. Because I argue that a coal miner is going to die far faster than a sex worker on the job.
Yeah. That's a good analogy there. So like, I don't know. In all this stuff is stemming from people that don't know how to turn things off, pretty much. Because the philosophy is, if you do not like something, don't watch the shit, you know? And then, we talk about Twitter now. It's just like, there's so much content floating around there, anything that you want is probably somewhere on Twitter. But the thing is, if it's something that you don't agree with, you have the tools to mute it, block it, and just pretty much erase it from your eye line and whatnot. So I mean, the only cause to for like up in major change is just like if it's some legit illegal shit, If you find a motherfucker that posted some like wrong and harmful shit, then yeah, that would be the cause to like stand up and be like, hey, this is wrong. We don't want this specific thing right here or whatever. But I don't think that they're, from what any typical sex worker is doing on Twitter, is even within the same lane or realm of what that illegal thing is that we're talking about or whatnot.
Nope, not at all. And really the only illegal, and I'll put that in air quotes, thing that a lot of sex workers do is the Twitter terms of service basically says don't put nudity basically anywhere unless it's artistic. So a solo nude or a teaser nude is fine. But a lot of the stuff you see where it's hardcore is actually borderline against the rules, and that's why I'm interested to see what happens in January. But no, you definitely don't see them like hurting anybody or sex trafficking in any way, shape, or form. And all of the big production companies and even the smaller ones, their consent packages are available to download for PDF. So if you have a favorite porn company that you like watching, you can actually download a PDF of what their performers will, won't, and what they're offered. Obviously not monetary, but like, we offer like these comforts. Some places, the major companies, even have a therapist on set just in case.
And now we talk about the platform for that type of content is starting to shrink or whatever. And you brought up that porn in itself is a $4 billion industry. What do you think is stopping that, the powers to be within that $4 billion worth of revenue they're getting, for them to open up their own platform? I mean, something other than a Pornhub or a RedTube or some shit like that, something more geared toward the things that their other places are banning out.
Literally nothing is stopping them because it's already started. There is a smaller platform called Twitter, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
There's another platform called ShareSome, who are having a little bit of trouble because they tried to monetize in a, I don't want to say less than honest, but their explanation could have been much better. So they're there, but they're not really recommended at this point. And I hate to say that because I actually like the owners, but I really can't recommend their platform yet. AVN, which is either the biggest or second biggest publication in the adult industry, period, has AVN stars. And so everybody is already taking these steps to create. And then there's OnlyFans, Just for Fans, Is My Girl, Fan Centro, Model Centro. Like, I can't even name them all because, this is a question you just asked. I didn't research it.
Yeah,
but all of these places where your content, if you are an adult creator, is perfectly fine, will not get banned, will not get shadow banned. The key thing is, because it's not a major platform in the sense of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, getting your fans, getting the eyes that you want on, a little bit challenging. The other major thing is that none of these things have apps, because Apple, Google, they are not going to allow a sex work platform onto their Play Store or whatnot. So you have to get your fans, people who want to see your content, used to the idea of creating a mobile bookmark or maybe searching your stuff on their desktop. So there is a challenge, but to say that they're not starting, no, we're well ahead. We're well ahead of the game in terms of that. I'm even on AVN Stars, just posting old episodes and whatnot.
I like how you say we. that's some good shit. Now, yeah, man, it's they suffer at the mercy of convenience, pretty much. Because Twitter, one press, two press, I'm in there. That I gotta pop open the laptop or the tablet and go through this and everything, and then that's kind of where it's going to suffer in the beginning times and whatnot. But what else could they do? Because you talk about app stores and everything, that those are all third party to them. Could they come up with their own operating system to have their own app and all this other bullshit? So there's some hurdles, but when you have $4 billion backing you, I imagine that's some hurdles that can be drastically shortened.
Yeah, could they? Absolutely. But right now, the idea of an adult workers union, although one exists, the Adult Performers Advocacy Guild and the Adult Performers Advocacy Group Union, it's fantastic that they exist. But even if you look on Twitter, they only have 6,000 followers. And you can probably guess there are way more than 6,000 adult performers out there. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult because everybody has their own way that they want to do things. So you can't really conglomerate the $4 billion. But things like Pornhub, because they're backed by MindGeek, which is a lion's share of where that $4 billion comes from in terms of production, they have their own Android app. You just have to sideload it, which is a different way. So if you want this content, you can. If you have an iPhone, any single one of your bookmarks can be turned into a little icon that you can click on your home screen. So there are ways to go about it. It's just educating the masses who are so used to I'm going to check Twitter to see what my favorite star is doing. I'm going to, check on Instagram to see B-Rob's Walmart log, right? It's getting it a different, yes, do that. Absolutely. But if you want the stuff that we're offering, you got to go this way. And that's still going to take some time because the marketing is not going to be there. And I fully say this until the Sesta Fosta are repealed, because those have overreaching implications. And I know starting next year, I believe two of the Democratic candidates, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, are pushing a bill to actually repeal Fosta Sesta. If that magically goes through, and I don't have much hope, unfortunately, but if that magically goes through, then you're going to start to see people like, oh, here's how we regulate our industry. Forget adult. They're going to be like, here's how we regulate our industry. Let's work with these providers and see, how can my industry thrive on Twitter? How can my industry thrive on Instagram? And I think that's going to be a lot easier when the time comes. But without, I hate to say this, without certain hateful religions in the power that they're in, then you're not going to see a repeal of anything, because we need, I hate to say this, but the hateful religions are often the less educated.
Yeah.
And without educated people actually making educated decisions, like you said, we're not going to get too far. So all we can do in any industry is push as far against the grain as we possibly can for now.
Yeah, and we're talking about porn specifically, how in the grand scheme of things, there's a mass amount of people that's saying, hey, this is a thing that's being pushed on me on this social media platform that I prefer. I don't like that. I want it to go away. So what's stopping from the people, which the point you just brought up, that has a overly religious base to where like, hey, I don't necessarily believe in all that, but you're pushing it on this platform that I like. I want this to go away. Where are those people at? Because I mean, there is atheism out there, and there's just some people who don't believe in that type of thing, but it is bombarded at you, and in your social media apps of choice, just like porn and any other thing that people don't like. So what's to stop them from going after those other things?
Well, literally nothing, as long as certain people are in power.
Mm-hmm.
I really trying not to bring politics into it, but you really have to see, like you have to see the hateful religious politicians, and I think that's broad enough. They are going to do everything they can. Like there's a whole group of men regulating women's bodies. Like not one woman is on that advocacy committee.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is that? Right? So until there's a massive shift of power, unfortunately in the States, because the States is the adult industry, like yes, Pornhub and ManyVids, they have offices in Montreal, but they don't do their playing from there. They do their work from there, but they don't become industry players until they head down to Los Angeles.
Yeah, and that's weird. Now, I mean, you talk about the States being just this hub, pun intended, of the industry and whatnot. Most of the main conglomerates are here, but the United States is just the most regulated place in all things. It's just like how we talking about, they trying to ban the shit on Twitter, Tumblr, and all these other places. We don't want this in the public eye. You do your shit in the shadows. But when you go to places like Canada and Europe and all these other places, it's just like you can buy panties in the motherfucking vending machine and shit. It's just like you got the weather girls doing the news topless. So it's like, why isn't there a boom or hubs, over there, instead of here, where it's just like, no, we don't want that. That's not nice. That's not fair.
You know what? I can't speak to it. I just know that a lot of Europeans just don't have this aversion specifically to sex. Kids in Europe start learning about genitalia in like grade 2. Yeah. Whereas over here, like sometimes our 11, 12-year-olds are like, don't do that. That's fucking ridiculous to my mind. Right? Like I'm European background, but raised in Canada. So I heard sort of both sides, but it just makes more sense. We can't fearmonger and we can't knowledge hoard from anybody. The more knowledge people have, the less likely they are to do something stupid. It just makes logical sense. Over there, in Europe specifically, I'll go a little bit differently. I went to Europe for the last time when I was 17. So literally not legal to drink anywhere in North America. I went to the bar. I don't know if you remember the film Hostel, but the bar they go downstairs to. It's kind of like in a wall. I was actually there, and the waiter's looking at me, and I'm like, shit. I was with my dad. I'm like, shit. I don't have my ID. He's like, he's not asking for your ID, stupid. He wants your drink order, and I'm like, you're not going to tell him? He's like, no, fuck no. Get a beer. And so I had literally Das Boot full of beer, and because they just don't care. And it's not a taboo thing. The less things we make taboo, the more educated we make people, the easier it is to make educated decisions. But the problem is certain people in power absolutely everywhere, this is global, want to hide that knowledge. They want to hide that education. I sound like a conspiracy nut, but it keeps them in power because you can't make an educated decision.
Yeah, I got tinfoil under my beanie right now, so it's... Yeah, and it's just like it all boils down to even on a smaller level too. You know, parents and their kids. I mean, you know what's out there, and they may not necessarily know because they have not been around as long as you have. So it's upon you to be like, hey, look out for this. This is this. Don't do this and this and this. I mean, not in a way to where like, hey, motherfucker, I'm your parent, so do what the fuck I say, but like in an educational aspect of it or whatever. Because like I haven't had per se the sex talk with my older two kids, but they know. And it's because of the roundabout way that I went about the shit. I was like, pregnancy, the same way that you can get pregnant is the same way that you can get this STD that can do this and this and this to your body. So before you even get to that level, you want to protect yourself at this level, yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's convoluted way to do it, but it's just like it made them go think about this and go look at this and all this before they even got to, trying to penetrate somebody or get penetrated.
I didn't even get that opportunity. I took my family to a wrestling show. My daughter is 10. I only have the one. My daughter is 10. She was actually 10 when this happened. We were at a wrestling show on a Saturday, not prepared. She leans over to my wife and goes, "Mom, I have a problem." We were in front row at an indie wrestling show, and she got her period at 10. Literally did not have the time to plan the talk. Literally did not have the time. It's like, shit, now we got to get her, fixed up because obviously things are happening. And we got to get her to a point in time where she can still come back and enjoy the show and not worry about this monumental life shift that happened not in the comfort of her own home, but actually like 45 minutes away, surrounded by sweaty dudes.
Yeah, that's like Carrie or some shit.
It was like we were both, like Crises and I were both freaking out. We're looking at each other like, oh, this was not expected. Mm-hmm. But that leads into, well, now you do have to have the talk. And now I'm noticing my daughter has a lot more male friends. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, she didn't care about dudes this time last year. And now she's like hanging out. Well, I don't think they're doing anything, right? They're 10, but it's like this monumental change. And it's like, I can't possibly hide this information from you because you've literally had it happen to you. And that's the thing that I don't understand about hiding knowledge about sex or about anything. Unless you are asexual, you literally will have sex at some point in some way. Wouldn't you want to be educated about it? And don't use porn for your education, like actually speak to somebody who can help you with the ins and outs, per se?
I see what oh man, it's weird. It's just like I don't understand people anymore. As to where like if the business ain't your business, then stay the fuck out that business.
Truth.
So I don't know, because I mean that's the error. I grew up in. It was just like what goes on in this house stays in this house. I mean, I ain't talking about shit that's harmful or whatever, but like our conversations that we have is the conversations we have in this house. Sally Mae down the street. Sally Mae, that's bad.
Oh, shit.
Lucy Sue should know about what the fuck we talk about in our everyday conversation here inside this house,
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in now. Everybody wants to be upset for somebody else, or they want to be upset that we're not upset in the shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we got to take care of our own stuff, whether it's your personal stuff, my personal stuff, or my province or your state or city, state, province, whatever. We've all got our own things to deal with. Why don't we just get them done properly before we start interjecting anything anywhere?
Yeah. Word. What do you think about Spunk Lube, man?
I love Spunk Lube. I really do. You can see behind me, I've got the variety pack here. I really enjoy it. Now, one of my friends actually did something on his YouTube channel just recently where he took the green one and cooked with it, because all it is avocado, coconut, and olive oil. It's completely 100% natural. So he basted his steaks with it, his pork steaks. And apparently it turned out fantastic. So that's something I'm going to try for Cooking with Crumb or Casual Snacks with Crumb.
Oh man. So yeah. Let's branch more into that or whatever. I mean, you got the podcast here, and then you saying you got the YouTube content. I mean, what's that more geared toward or whatnot? Because I'm not going to lie to you. out of pure support, I subscribe and I like and I retweet everything. But a lot of this thing that I'm kind of like is, I don't know. So as far as the YouTube goes of what you do or whatnot, please educate me on that, sir.
Sure. YouTube, first and foremost, is where all the episodes of Getting Casual go, because it just helps drive up the total numbers for not only listeners, but more so for sponsorships. They want to go by total reach and they want to go by total numbers. So just helps out. In terms of what else I put on YouTube, honestly, literally whatever. That's why my YouTube is not Getting Casual specifically. It's Casual Crumb. Sometimes I'll throw a vlog out there, nowhere near as prolific as you, but sometimes I'll throw a blog. I love doing unboxings, as dumb as that sounds. Crises and I used to do them a lot. She does that for her witchcraft channel as well when she gets her little loot box thing that's geared toward witchy people. And I just love, like, I'll throw some gaming stuff on there. I'm a terrible, terrible fucking gamer, but I like streaming. I like playing Fortnite, and I like being that old guy who just does everything. And I think it's just more so getting every little bit of my personality and my creativity out there. Now, that's specifically for YouTube. Mm-hmm. Other video platforms, you can probably guess what I do on other video platforms.
Yes, the incorporation of the Spunk Lube and a manner of other things.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
So, like, what led to that? I mean, obviously you're into that type of thing, but like, what led to you be like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna just put this on Pornhub?
The adult stuff or the episodes?
Well, I know about the episode stuff because we talked about that in the group chat or whatever, but like the adult stuff.
So this goes back a long while. I wanted to move to Montreal. I'm 39 now. I wanted to move to Montreal back when I was 24. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship, and I hated pretty much everything about where I was. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Fresh start. Let's move provinces in this case. And Montreal at the time was a big, big hub for adult content. Still is, but it was really burgeoning with indie content there. So I was like, you know what? I'll probably walk downtown and see if I can get invited to do like a kink shoot or something like that, and hope for the best. So this was all in my head. And then that didn't happen for, well, reasons. And I'm like, you know what? I put it on the back burner. And then the girl I was with, who I had my daughter with, she was definitely not into that. And then I'm like, well, okay. So we broke up, and I was single for a little bit of time. And when you're a single dad, like I had the kid, when you're a single dad, like there ain't no time for anything. So that was a good chunk of time. I don't want to say lost because I bonded with my daughter so amazingly, but professionally that time was lost, if that makes sense. So it got to the point where we're having this talk with Crises as we got together and as we started getting more closer and closer to our marriage at the time, just going back a little bit, where I'm like, look, I'm kind of a slut, and and you and I agreed to monogamy with you because I love you, but I am not necessarily monogamous in person in my head, but I love her head over stupid, so yeah. I definitely am with her. But I'm like, here's what I do. I enjoy porn. I have forever. I did get rid of a huge porn collection when Crises and I moved in together. Mm-hmm. But I realized that was stupid. Like, why don't we just be honest going back to that? So when it came time to do Getting Casual, there's a period of time that just sort of went. When I started out with my crumbling audio, I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk about porn, and I'm going to recommend scenes of the week. So I'm going to watch porn. Are you cool with that? And she looked at me and said, I don't know. Let's see what kind. And she was the one. I'm dead serious. She was the one I pay for an Adult Time subscription up until April of next year. What's up, Adult Time? Sponsor me. Because she loved the girls on Burning Angel, which is now a subsidiary of Adult Time. So we paid for Burning Angel. She picked that out. And I'm like, well, would you be cool if I started talking to these people and I started talking about it? And she's like, I don't really, like, you're not sexting or anything, right? I'm like, okay, I'm not going to lie. In my Twitter DMs to this day, I get random tits. But it's not like a solicited thing. It's just like,
it's the internet.
It's the internet, you know. Thank you. Some people think I'm an adult producer, which I am, but solo. I cannot produce you. I cannot give you a contract or money or anything like that. But I explained that to them, and every single person has been so awesome when I tell them, like, I'm a show. You'll be on YouTube, you'll be on Podbean and my website and all that stuff, but we're not gonna fuck in any way. And once my wife got into that, she was really, really supportive and loved it, and she finds a lot of the girls really cute too, which is amazing. And then 2 years ago, I took her to the Everything to Do with Sex show.
Yeah, I seen pictures. Yeah.
Exactly. So I took her there, and that was like 2 years ago. You could see her mind just exploding because she was very sheltered, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, all of us didn't have the luxury of having porn in our lives.
I mean, even with her relationships, now she's going to slap me for saying this, and this is not a humble brag at all. This is legit truth. She was 28, if I'm not mistaken, if I do my math correctly. I was the first orgasm donor she ever had. She'd fucked people before, but never had an orgasm. Mm-hmm. So she had a very, very negative view of sex because she was literally just used as a sex doll.
Yeah, I get that.
So then I took her to the Everything to Do with Sex show, and I'm like, see, everybody's really awesome. And then what happened was My Free Cams actually sponsors that. So they have a giant booth. They had, all 3 years. And they have a lot of the cam performers there doing a tamer version of their show. The province that I live in, tits are perfectly legal to display. So it's a lot of topless hot chicks running around being on cam, which is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But what got Crises is she is not a skinny person. Neither am I. Mm-hmm. But what got her thinking was there are certain performers, and there are a lot of performers, but there were certain performers there who were much larger than her and wearing far less than she was. Mm. And it got in her mind, like, wait a minute, these women have the confidence to do that? And I said yes. And she actually started talking to a cam performer. Crises is shy as shit. You know that.
Yeah. I know.
And she actually started talking to people, to the performers. And I was like, wait, what? So I backed off, and we start leaving, and she's like, you know what? I might give this a shot. This was 2 years ago. And I said, okay, in that case, do you mind if I throw my junk out there? She's like, yeah, I don't care, whatever. So
yeah, you throwing your junk around, just knocking everything over.
Shit, yeah, waving it around like I just don't care. But no, but really, I was like, oh, okay, I've always wanted to try this, so let's fucking do it. So I did. I do solo scenes pretty much exclusively.
Heard. Cool. I mean, that's just like not only good for you, but like just overall your relationship. I mean, you're open, you're honest with each other, and look at all the good that's come of it.
Well, and that's true. And I don't know if I'm hoping we can get some crossover listeners on my second to last episode from when this airs, I'm guessing. I actually had Crises on, and we did a big revelation that she actually wants to try being a cam girl.
Word.
Yeah. So this is it may not just be solo scenes. So I'm really stoked for that, and we're sort of getting her into the name, because finding a name is very important. You need it for SEO and all that stuff. Like,
yeah, just don't put cums in it. Everybody got cums and all this shit. Shout out to Melanie Cummins, former guest of the show, and I was just like, I'm not. You're the exclusion because I know you personally, but like everybody else, there's Amber Cummins, Jenny Cummins, are we all Cummins, Apple Cummins?
One of my favorites way back in the day was Courtney Combs, and even she got sick of it and changed her name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Too much cum.
Too much cum. And Melody's going to be on my show actually too, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Oh man, she got me in trouble when I first got a hold of her, man, because I seen her on a podcast that is no longer around called the Vag Liquor Podcast, okay. And it's like, it was kind of like what you do. I mean, she had the titties out and everything, but it was the tame version. I didn't see that, but something about the personality kind of made me like, I need to talk to this person. And then at the time, I never had anybody of that caliber on my show, like as far as adult work and anything like that. So I wanted to just kind of pick the mind of somebody from that industry. But I got her on there on my show, and I had to bring in another guest with me because I didn't want to be alone. And it was kind of like, it was almost like a safety measure to keep her kind of, tame. Because, like, I got kids running around this motherfucking, like, we're not in the same place that I'm currently in now, but that place was just like a dining room that we didn't use, and it didn't have a door on either side, so people can just wander in and out of that mug. So that would be the last thing I want, is one of my kids to come in and ask me a question, have some titties on my goddamn screen, And plus, because I'm married too, and that'd have been an awkward situation. So I had Andre Psyche on the show to kind of back me up, and them two flirted with each other the whole goddamn time. And then it was a whole bunch of times to where she was like in promotion mode. So you know how some of them are, they like kind of bouncing around, trying to get the jubblies off and kind of flashing and everything. Now, every time she would try to do it, I'd be like, no, please don't. And after a while, we get to talking and everything, we get to know each other. She would do it to fuck with me because she knew I didn't want to get in trouble. So she'd be like, like, no. And then we went on another show together because Arlie, he does the Random Chattering podcast. And I told him specifically, I want to be on your episode 69. And I got in touch with Melody, but I didn't let him know. So when I popped up, he's like, what's this? Somebody's trying to call us in? And I pulled her into the Skype chat and everything. And it was pretty much the same thing. And she was fucking with him and me at the same time. I was like, please don't. I got people running around here. Don't do that to me. But yeah, she cool people, man. I like her. I check in on her every now and then or whatever, just to see how she doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can't wait to have her on. The only thing, like you said, I don't mind people bringing their personality, but I had one guest who I had to sort of back off a little bit, only because I don't want the character. Obviously, I don't want your real name or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I want the person behind the performer. We're going to talk about your performances. I'm going to shill everything you want me to shill because that's who I am and what I do. But let me get to know you. That's why a lot of my conversations with people are not necessarily about adult work or sex.
Exactly. That was the whole point of having her on my show. I was like, I didn't want to talk about porn. I was just kind of like the motivations behind the person.
Yep.
Yep. But like, so I mean, what's next for you, man? Was like you got the thing going on with the podcast, you got your casual thing on the YouTube and whatnot, you got the stuff on the Pornhub. I mean, is there any escalation into anything else that you're trying to get to, or?
So what I'd really like to do is make Getting Casual an official podcast for somebody. Mm-hmm. Like if I have sort of an idea of who I want to work with. Obviously, I have steps to go to get there. So really and truly, I just want to cultivate. Right now, I'm really good friends, really good working relationship with the Rub PR. Mm-hmm. There are many other PR agencies that I can contact, and I'm always grateful to the Rub, and she honestly will always get first dibs because she's been so great to me. But that being said, there are a ton of other people who represent a ton of other people. So that's sort of my goal. I've been kind of slacking about reaching out to them. So that is like, get off your ass and write those emails. There is a little behind the scenes chatter. I have been emailing the guys from Demon Seed Radio Network. Mm-hmm. I would love to be replayed on them. I've made that pretty much public. So I'm in talks with the owner there to make that happen. So hopefully that's a 2020 thing.
Yeah.
I would like very much to start producing more adult content as well as more like safe for work podcast content.
Yeah.
I think one of my major goals for me is to drop a little bit of weight because I'm not happy with how I look. So that's sort of a personal vendetta, a personal goal. And then for the show, really like just get more eyes and ears on it because I don't want to stop. Sometimes it takes a big mental toll. Like you're a solo producer as well, right? Like you do everything for Random Robcast from recording, editing, producing, you know the mental toll that it takes.
Yeah,
And sometimes it almost makes it feel like it's not worth it. But then every once in a while, you know, you get a nice DM from somebody who's like, hey, you really made my day, or that episode really helped me, and I really discovered this new performer in my case. And that's amazing. But I'd love to get it to a point where the mental stress doesn't even come into play, because it's like, you know what, this is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And I know Monday I'm doing ABC, Tuesdays XYZ, Wednesday, Thursday, you know, whatever, get that down. But when you're a solo performer, when you're a solo producer, it's tough. You know that. And anybody else listening who has done solo content creation of any kind, it's tough to stay on top of everything. So it's just that. And, you know, but yeah, I would like a vanilla job, but I'd also like to just get paid to do the stuff that I do. Like, I'm getting more into voice acting. I would love to start getting paid gigs for that. So that's a whole lot of aspiration in terms of goals, man. I just got to put more work down and get more content out there.
Yeah.
That's really all it is.
And that's the dream, man. It's just like, I want this shit to envelop everything that I do and, you know, become the job instead of a thing I do when I get off work, you know. But I mean, it's just like you're saying, the solo fatigue, I guess we can call it. It's like, that's why I don't do a lot of YouTube shit, man. And I'm more drawn to Instagram, because like Instagram, I hold the button down, say what I got to say, and it's automatically posted. I don't have to edit shit or nothing. But now I'm doing the YouTube thing. I got to take the video down. I got to upload it to my whatever I'm going to edit it on. Then I got to cut this, add this, put this here, wait for it to upload, put it out. Make sure I put the right hashtag on it. Make sure I retweet this, retweet that. And it is just like, I got other shit to do. I got some laundry. I feel like going see motherfucking Jumanji today, which I'm going to probably do later on. And then I take kids to appointments and all kind of other shit or whatever, man. And it's just like, we doing all this extra shit for what? I mean, obviously we enjoy it, but like, there's almost like seemingly no return. But then, like you said, you get that one well-crafted DM or just a retweet, or like, and it just, all that shit just melts away. I like that shit, you know?
Yep. See, for me, YouTube editing or video editing in general, yeah, it sucks, but I actually found I really enjoy it. I didn't think so. I found this program. It's completely free. It's called DaVinci Resolve.
Mm-hmm.
It's like high quality level shit, like on like the Adobe level, but it's 100% free.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get over the learning curve, because it is steep, it's amazing.
Taking notes. Please continue. I'm just writing that down.
Whereas, yeah, it does have a steep learning curve, but once you get over that learning curve, like my editing is actually faster now than some of the paid programs I've used. And that's including like the Apple, the one that comes with every Mac. I forget what it's called now. It's been so long. iMovies. Yeah, that's right. Or I paid for Movave Video Editor. Great program, but it's very beginner. Like this one, you can do color correction. You can do. I edit my audio shows in the video program now.
And you said it's DaVinci Resolve?
DaVinci Resolve. Yeah. All they want is your email so they can market you shit, and you get a free download.
And so they can send you porn.
I mean, I'll send you porn. I'm going to start up a mailing list. That's another goal. I want to start up a mailing list. But
I don't want to take on Casual Penis in my email. Hey man, that could be like your porn series or whatever, a Casual Penis.
Well, I can't remember if you were in on this. We were doing a comedy bit with the Somebodies, and they wanted us to use a fake name. So I couldn't be Crumb. I had to pick something else. And I'm like, all right, what the hell is it going to be? And I came up with Rich Manhood. And I was like, that's my porn name.
Like, oh, see, there it is. Casual Penis from Rich Manhood.
That's right.
And that was like, you know, what you talk about, you want to be somebody's, you know, podcast or whatever. That was the whole reason for us pitching that in like the group chat. It was like, what you do and what you're into is more suited for Pornhub. And Pornhub, I feel like they should have content branded like that on there, to where like, all right, yeah, we know you come here for porn, but we got this other stuff here too, to where we have the casual sex with Crumb, and he's like, you have people that you see or can search on our platform that might be guests on his show, and that was the whole reasoning behind that or whatever. And I thought it'd be like, why not,
So my marketing coach, I've mentioned her before, Amberly Rothfield, she actually has an in with that, and I need to make those connections because it's actually something we talked about. But the major problem, and it's not really a problem, but they have Asa Akira. And right? Like, she is not doing the Pornhub podcast anymore as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
But Asa Akira is way more well known than Casual Crumb is.
Yeah.
So who do you think they're going to get if they ever do host it? But it is sort of a behind the scenes thing. Definitely one of my goals is to do that. I've already emailed a few people. You know what? It's the holidays and people don't know who I am, so I'm just going to have to keep poking that particular bear. But yeah, and it doesn't even have to be Pornhub. Like, there are a couple of companies who I speak with, and it's like, you know what? I do want to try this. I do want to be your official. Like, I say, like, my delivery, I think my style, I'm not the funniest guy. I know that. I need a setup person, or I need a group setting to be really funny. But I think my delivery, my style, and the way I interview people, I think really reaches out to people. I think, anyway, hopefully.
Yeah, and then you just get her on your show, and then she'll see that you're awesome, and then it'll be like, oh, why don't we bring you to Pornhub? And be like, yay, did it.
That would be one of those intimidating ones we were talking about earlier. I love me some Asa Akira.
Got you. Yeah, that was like, I said, I guess my interview to that level, which was Michael Jai White when he was on here, and I was just like a stuttering mess before I kind of calmed the fuck down, and I was like, all right, this is cool.
Yeah. You just got to remember that everybody is a person, right? Like, they have a little bit more notoriety, they might be better at something, but they're just people at the end of the day. Like, everybody's just people at the end of the day.
Yeah, and what calmed me down for that interview is, like, before we started recording proper, I was kind of, gushing at him. I was like, oh, I'm so honored to be on the other side of the microphone from you or whatever. I was like, you're awesome, and, doing all the fan shit or whatever. And he was like, well, I mean, thank you. I guess you've been doing this for a while. You probably get somebody better than me later. So I was like, cool. All right.
Oh.
So, yay. I was like, all right, you're awesome. Even awesome than what I initially thought of. I might just, for shits and giggles, reach back and see if he come back on, because he just, I think they wrapped or they in production of that movie he was trying to get crowdfunded, Outlaw Johnny Black. Basically, if you've seen Black Dynamite, it's the same character, just in a Western setting.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm excited for that.
I mean, it can't hurt to reach out, right? Like, what's he gonna say? No? Doubtful.
Yeah, I mean, and that's my philosophy about anything. I send all these emails and DMs and shit. And I was like, the worst they can tell me is no. It's not like, all right, if I send this DM and they don't say yes, a fucking clan of assassins is gonna come over here and beat my ass. There's no consequences for you to shoot your shot.
And you're also not sending dick pics, so you're like ahead of a lot of people who send DMs.
Exactly, and I feel weird about, like, some of the people that have open DMs or you can reach via DM, because I feel like they don't look at them shits often, because it's just like, I imagine they get titties and dicks and buttholes and all kind of shit just because of who they are and shit, and they'd be like, oh, another dick pic. I'm not going to even dignify myself to look at this. So, I mean, email is my main route, but at the same time, for as advanced email, as email, the system, the concept of it is, nobody is using that shit as much either,
No, because we like the instant gratification of the instant message, but then you run into that paradigm of having dick pics all the time. So it's like this endless loop of not responding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I feel weird because, like, the one person I tried to get on my show, one of the shadow band people I brought up, is just like, her DMs ain't open. Mm-hmm. Then she has all these, cam only or whatever, all the other places, but they don't have no email contact on there. And then I'm just trying to find all these different other avenues of trying to find some contact. And the only other way is Twitter. And that is just like, I'm throwing it out there in public for everybody else to see. And I don't want to do that. And it's just like, I'm looking like a thirsty motherfucker and shit, you know?
Well, that's why I had to do that for one performer that I just got in contact with. I created like this very general email that it could be sent to like 100 people, and her DMs were closed as well. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just sort of change this. And as long as you don't put that period before so that everybody can see it, it's just a conversation between the two of you, just not in DM. Mm-hmm. So I sent her that email. She's like, or that tweet, like just plain direct tweet. And she's like, oh yeah, no worries. Instantly followed, instantly got back in the DMs. Then we took the conversation from there. I could delete that first tweet if I wanted. So that's something. Wait
a minute. How long you see me get my notepad out there? You do what now? To do what and where?
Okay. So what I do is I have like a generic email. This is for people I met at this year's Everything to Do with Sex show. It's like, hey, I met you at your booth. I took your card. I gave you mine. Mm-hmm. I mentioned that I'd want you on my show. Just gauging interest. Of course, you dumb that down to the 240 characters, whatever. Yeah. And you just, as long as you don't put the period in front of the at. So the first thing you do is at person I want to get. Mm-hmm. And then you paste your email or your text or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you send it. Now, hopefully they'll be as receptive as this young lady was, where she's like, oh yeah, switching to DM. And then she followed me and instantly DM'd. And now we're having a conversation setting up when we're going to chat on the show.
So you compose a tweet to person at whatever the hell, put your blah blah in there, and that's is that the gist of it?
That's literally the gist of it. Yeah. And I sent it, I tweeted it, right? Like just open tweet. And about 2 or 3 hours later, I think I was having dinner, I get a ding. It's like the reply to the actual tweet. So the public thing you can see. Oh yeah, switching to DM now. She followed me and we're in DMs right now. It's like, okay. And I got to thank you because you actually gave me an idea on booking guests with the calendar thing you sent me behind the scenes.
Hell yeah, man. That shit is fucking awesome, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I've started doing that. Some of I haven't gotten much response yet. I guess, everyone's busy. It's the holiday season, but once I confirm interest, I'm sending them my link to my thing, and it's going well. Because I did have one guest actually forget that I existed. She tweeted me that night and was like, we were supposed to talk today, weren't we? And I'm like, we were, but I'm not upset. I can't reschedule right now because I got XYZ going on. And then I was like, you know what? I need to change something. You sent me like, hey, book yourself. And I know my marketing coach uses a similar one, but a different one. And I'm like, you know what? This is something that I need to get on to get my ass organized. Mm-hmm. So I've got one as well for my guests. And I even put it on the website.
Yeah, I did the same thing. And it was good about it. It's just like before, it was like, hey, me and you going to get on Monday at 3:00 or whatever. And what the old method used to be is if I'm busy, I got to try to remember that shit so I can get to my calendar, put all the information in there and save it, put all the alerts and alarms on it so I don't forget. But if I forget that I said something with you and I don't put it down on the calendar, that shit is in the ether. That's in the wind somewhere. I done forgot. So with this, I mean, it gives them to pick something that's comfortable for them. But I only ran into one drawback with it, which is absolutely not a drawback whatsoever, is I got my hours of operation Monday through Sunday. So you can pick anywhere from Monday to Sunday that you can be on the show, and I have the hours specific to my work schedule and, times and that I'm available. Sometimes I will forget to put breaks in between them shits because it's open Monday through Sunday. So I would get 4 interviews in a week. And damn, it's just like Monday interview, Tuesday interview, Wednesday interview, Thursday interview. And then I'm like, cool, I got 4 weeks worth of content right there. That's damn near a month of shows.
Mhm.
And then next week, another 4 people will come on, and I'm like, fuck. You know, I was
You're
like,
never editing again.
yeah, I know. It's just all the editing, and then I don't know. I mean, but it's still good to have though. But the only thing that I fuck up at is when I make an appointment for life shit, and I forget to update the calendar. And then somebody will come in, hey man, I scheduled an appointment. And I look in there and I'm like, fuck, I got an appointment. Then I got to go back through and reschedule and talk with them or whatever. That's the only thing I got to try to stay up on. Because I think I had an appointment with somebody the other day, and it kind of put me in the mode of like, all right, I got my doctor's appointment at this time. Then I got to gauge the traffic. And then I should be able to make it on time, but I'm not 100% sure. Do I want to chance it? Fuck it, let's cancel it and reschedule. Yeah, but it's a helpful tool, man, because as soon as they put the info in there, all this shit pop up. I like approve, and it goes into my calendar. I ain't got to worry about that shit until the alarm come on for me to get ready for the interview.
That's the truth. Yep.
Yeah. So, man, it's been fun chatting with you, man. I'm
It
glad
has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you.
you got your Misfit shirt on and everything. Got your spunk lube all over the place. If I'm not mistaken, is that a penguin over there on the bed?
Yeah, that is Crisy's childhood penguin. Actually, he's been with her for all 34 and change years of her life, and he's still, when I'm working or when I'm gaming or whatever. Crisy's has an earlier job, so she goes to sleep earlier. He's the teddy bear until I'm ready. Behind he.
Be like, excuse me, penguin.
That's right.
The name?
Okay, all right, here we go. We're going to embarrass the wife time now.
Yeah.
His name is Sir Squish-a-Lot. He's amazing. Now, you can't see him, unfortunately, but just behind this black screen, which is my attempt at a green screen,
Mhm.
I have my panda, and he's sitting on top of my sex toy box. And my panda's name is not creative at all, but his name is Pornda. And you'll see him in a couple of videos.
See, he's the gatekeeper of all the goodies.
He really is. He really is. But he doesn't sit up straight, so he's actually giving himself a blowjob right now because his head just leans so far over.
I mean, with a name like Pornda, I mean, come on now.
It's true. But he's like always in there, man. I wish I had that stamina. My jaw would hurt.
Well, shit, not even the stamina, just the flexibility. You know, that killing his back, man. Yeah, but man, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you and chat with you and everything. I thought I had a kid coming in on me. They got a half day today, I think.
Oh,
but it is okay. This is my wife. Hey, come here, wife. Come say hi,
hello.
Mrs. B.
Myself?
Yeah,
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Awesome to hear. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
ow! You just abused me. You seen it? It's on camera.
It's lagging so much, though, that I didn't see it in real time, so it didn't happen. I'm on her side for this one.
All right, so yeah, okay. But let everybody know where they can find you on social media and everything that you got going on and coming up and what you want to do and whatnot.
Groovy. So the best place to find me and all the episodes is at gettingcasual.com. That's got absolutely everything. If you want to find me on all the social media that you can think of, and some you can't, I'm at Casual Crumb, spelled exactly how you think. One word.
Word. So, I mean, I don't have to say it, but it's customary for me to do so. You've been a guest of the Random Rounds with Rob podcast, and so being, the door is always open for you to come back to promote your next big thing or just to shoot the shit.
I would love to come back. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know that. And I got to have you on the show. Absolutely.
I'm down. I'm down to talk about jisms and spunk lubes and all kinds of things, porndas, all that stuff.
I would love to. I want to actually do like with you. I want to do like one of my old regular shows because you're not an adult star, so I can't really do an adult star interview. But I want to do like
I got some adult situations that had happened. I mean, I could bring up, but that's cool.
Then we're gonna talk about those. We're gonna do my old thing where I'm gonna hit you with my paraphilia of the week and make you guess what it is. We'll talk about scene of the week. We'll absolutely. I'd love to have you on.
I'm down. Yeah.
All right.
You got my calendar, so I guess I got to get to yours now. And